Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So we have a new president of the International Olympic Committee for the next 8 years, and it is a woman who has taken the role. Of course, that's very important because immediately we want to know, what is she going to do to protect the female category? A category that was introduced to the Olympics for the inclusion of who? Women. Females. If it wasn't for the female category, women would not be competing in the Olympics today. A category that was introduced in 1900. So the female category has been around for a very long time, but unfortunately, it has been compromised over the years. We know that a report from the UN was released saying that women have lost out on 900 medals across the board in various events due to the fact that male athletes have infiltrated the women's category. We saw this just last year when 2 gold medals went to male athletes in boxing. So of course, the first thing people want to know is, what is this new female president of the IOC going to do to ensure the integrity of the women's category? World Athletics, for example, under Sebastian Coe, has said that it is going to introduce gender testing, something that the Olympic Committee got rid of in 1999, which was very unfortunate. So let's see what the new president has to say. It's very exciting. It's a new chapter. Unfortunately, the handling of the Imane Khelif, Lin Yuting situation last year by the IOC was abysmal. The former president, Thomas Bach, basically gaslit people and said, you know, they're women because their identification says so. They have passports, they have birth certificates, supposedly, that says that they're female, so that's enough. And then he questioned the integrity of the tests done by the IBA. So let's see what President Kirsty Coventry has to say on this matter. New International Olympic Committee President Kirsty Coventry is not wasting any time in protecting the women's sports category in international competition. In her first press conference on Thursday, Coventry loudly voiced her support for keeping biological males out of women's competitions. Yay! That is so great to hear. Absolutely wonderful news hearing this. It is an issue that has affected nearly all women's competitions, including Olympic boxing in 2024, when Imane Khelif and Lin Yuting both medalled in Paris. And Coventry said, "We understand there'll be differences depending on the sport, but it was very clear from the members that we have to protect the female category, first and foremost, to ensure fairness. But we need to do that with a specific approach and the inclusion of the international federations who have already done a lot of work in this area." Yeah, speak to them. World Athletics. I think the IOC needs to follow its example and introduce cheek swabs. Very simple process to ensure whether one is male or female. A one-time thing that isn't invasive, contrary to what activists would have you believe. And of course, we don't just want talk, we want action, especially leading up to the 2028 Olympics. That's going to be right here in the US. The Olympic Committee needs to ensure that moving forward, we can have confidence in the female category. We can have confidence knowing that it is being protected. We're not going to see a repeat of what happened just last year. Can you imagine, in 2024, we are still seeing male athletes take medals, gold medals, from women. And what was worse is that we saw male athletes punch women in the face. And any woman who objected to that, such as Angela Carini, was called a sore loser. That was the spectacle. That was the Olympics in Paris. We must not repeat that in 2028, of course. The countless examples of women losing to men should be evidence enough that there's a need for distinction. However, Coventry said that the IOC would take inspiration from World Athletics, which already prohibits men from competing in women's sports. Wonderful news. Exactly. That's what needs to be done. Follow their example. Unfortunately, in athletics, it's gone on probably the worst. I mean, we saw in 2016 a podium full of male athletes Horrendous, absolutely horrendous. But at least they're taking action now, and the IOC needs to do the same, needs to right the wrongs of the past as much as it is possible to do so. So she said it was very clear from the membership the discussion around this has to be done with medical and scientific research at the core. I do kind of get annoyed when they start saying we need to do research and we need science and all of this. It's like, okay, sports has categories and we know the reason for those categories. There doesn't need to be a ton of data, a ton of research, especially new research, when this is something that has been known from the beginning of time. Men are stronger than women. Men have a physical advantage over women when it comes to sports. I mean, this is just fact, but fair enough. So we are looking at the facts and the nuances and the inclusion of the international federations that have done so much of this work. Having a seat at the table and sharing with us, because every sport is different. Coventry needs to make sure women's sports are only for women in Los Angeles in 2028. If not, the Summer Games will be a complete laughingstock, which I'm sure Trump is not going to allow to happen. I mean, you can't even get a visa to come and compete here when we don't know whether you're male or female. Like I've always said, it's very easy for one to prove whether they're male or female. A quick cheek swab, that's it. So unfortunately for Imane Khelif, it's not going to happen, not at the Olympics. Caster Semenya, same thing. A male athlete competing in the women's category that has been competing in the women's category for the longest time. A male athlete who admitted, yes, I have this condition, I have inverted testicles and XY chromosomes, but what does it matter?
You know, the medical terms, what they tell me, you know, my testosterone, you know, being born, you know, without the uterus, you know, being born with internal testicles, those don't make me less a woman. It's just the differences that I was born with, and I embrace them.
There's no such thing in life. If you want to get rid of a human being, you go tell them straight, I want to get rid of you, instead of going around collecting data on how, you know, their body or their physique, their performance, you know. Probably there's something, you know, adventurous or something, or probably because they say I have advantage, you know, in high testosterone. Of course, I do have it. So what?
I'm a woman. That was the explanation that Caster Semenya had. But they have the attitude that it doesn't matter. I'm a woman and I should be allowed to compete. And I should be allowed to continue taking medals from women.
I think it challenges and threatens the integrity of women's sports to have intersex athletes competing against genetic women. I think Caster's a wonderful person. I have nothing against her, but I think we already have an established precedent of men's sports and women's sports, and I think we need to honor that. Women have fought far too long to be able to even have the right to compete, and now it's being challenged by intersex and trans athletes, and I don't think that's right.
It has to stop at the top. These sporting bodies need to do the right thing, and I am hopeful that come 2028, this will be a thing of the past. Male athletes taking medals, standing on the podium in a women's competition will be a thing of the past. I mean, there's no other option. That's the only way to get people to tune in, to pay attention, and to actually take the Olympics seriously. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video.